Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Ready? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the. Can't hear me? Jim? Good. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the November Northern California APCO chapter meeting. Thank you very much to Tracy for hosting us here today. Special thanks to Michelle for helping to coordinate and every other board member who helped contribute to help make today happen. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Before we get too far, we'll go forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so a couple of housekeeping items. Bathrooms are behind us here. If you did park in this parking lot and it felt like it was really open, it's because it's reserved for the senior center. So if you did park over in this parking lot behind this building, please move your vehicle. There's another parking lot on the other side that is open for the public. With that, we will get started on introductions. My name is Carl Grover. I am an IT program manager with the City of Roseville and the current Northern California APCO president. So we'll just go around the room. If you're with one of our business partners, please take a minute to tell us a little bit about your product, your solution, anything that you think can help the public safety community.
Oh, you're going to start with me? Hi, hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm with the sales group, otherwise TSG. I'm based out of SoCal. We are an independent rep firm. We handle anything from radio, wireless communications to workflows in your dispatch at your desk, video walls, and infrastructure. Think of us as smart cities. But the ergonomics are not only at the chair, the desk, the sight lines, the hygiene in the room. We put it all together. So we're here to help. I'm here with Miguel, our inside sales, and RGB is part of our line there. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Miguel Nazario. I am with the sales group as well, and we're coming from Southern California today.
Good morning. My name is Chris Shaw. I'm with Oracle Public Safety, and we offer cloud-based CAD, RMS, mobile, jail, variety of cloud-based solutions. So thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Michelle Dobner with Commission on Post.
Jamila Fields, also with Commission on Post. I'm going to walk over. Oh, thanks.
And thank you very much for being here today and being our keynote speakers.
Oh boy. Jennifer Kenton from Campbell Police Department.
Good morning, I'm Eric Stewart. I'm with American Power Systems. We do DC power solutions for telecommunications, UPS, energy, and wireline services.
Good morning. My name is Greg Glenn. I'm with Comba Telecom and also CSI Telecommunications. We offer engineering services, and I consult on building systems and specifically the hardware. Right now, I just wanted to make one quick comment to those that have been involved with the FCC proceedings that have been going on to rewrite the FCC rules regarding the use of signal boosters. The FCC has opened back up today. The public notice that was released at the close of the FCC when they closed down because of the government shutdown said you got 24 hours after they reopen to file comments. Now, I think they were expecting to have a 1 week type thing. I think hopefully every licensee got their comments in on the 15th, but I would suggest watching, or by the October 15th, watching for the comments to be disseminated over the next couple of days, and then they'll have to extend reply comments because they were due on October 30th, which we're well beyond that. But I guess what I'm trying to say also is please make sure, if you're a licensee, that you participate in this. This is one of the things I can tell you that the FCC is like, the licensees aren't doing their jobs, the licensees aren't doing their jobs. I don't think that that's the case, but we need to make the case, right, that, hey, listen, you know, this is a little bit different than a Part 90 licensee that's on the public, or, you know, a private, non-public safety type licensee. You know, if I own a private system, I have a lot more horsepower than maybe a public safety licensee has. So we're trying to sell that and trying to get the FCC to be a little bit more proactive in their enforcement. Anyway, so enough on that. Thank you. I guess it goes this way.
That works. Good morning, Dan Marcus, RGB Spectrum. Nice to see you all here in Tracy. And thanks again to Tracy Police Department for putting this together. RGB Spectrum is headquartered in Alameda, and we make visual systems, audiovisual products, and hardware for command and control environments. We focus on the real-time space for both fire and police, as well as for ECCs, creating better and more comfortable, more ergonomic, more user-centric workflows at the desk and at the front of room for display technologies. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Iggy Brigado with JPS. We are an engineering house based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a solutions engineer based out of San Jose. We design and manufacture communication interoperability products, communication distribution over terrestrial or wireless networks, SATCOM, and things like that. And we do have receiver voter products. And thank you for having me.
Hi, Kent McNabb, the City of Oakland Police Department, 911 Center.
Hi, Bernard Louie, Oakland Police Dispatcher.
Hi, my name is Jamie Johnson, and I'm with Motorola, and I support customers in California with their call handling solutions.
Ron Anthony Green with Motorola, and I support Jamie.
Ashley Sutton, Redwood City Police Department.
Good day, George with JPS. I work with Iggy Brigado, and he has the more of a engineering technical presentation. I try to tell people we're here to solve problems, fill gaps, and usually no one has any gaps. Their system works perfectly fine. It takes about 25, 30 minutes to 2 months for them to figure out there is one problem. And so that's where we come in. We bridge the gap, we fill holes, we help improve communication systems. Thank you so very much.
Samuel Christensen, Epic Marketing. Pleasure to be here.
Gary Mitchell, El Dorado County Sheriff's Department Communications.
Good morning. My name is Mandy Montalvo. I'm the Public Safety Communications Manager for the Elk Grove Police Department and a member of your Board of Directors.
Bridget McGinnis, El Dorado Sheriff's Dispatch.
Christopher Sutter, Stockton Police Dispatch.
Brandy Thomas, Communications Manager for Stockton Police Department's 911 Center.
David Jones with E.F. Johnson, part of JVC Kenwood. And I'm a solutions engineer, and I'll talk a little later about our best kept secret.
I'm Andrea Castro with Santa Cruz Regional 911.
Good morning. I'm Sean Sharofsky with Santa Cruz Regional 911.
Good morning. Cindy Hamer with Silky Communications, two-way radios, towers, and other.
Good morning. Michelle Elmore, Tracy Police Department Dispatch Supervisor and one of your Board of Directors.
Good morning. Mike Beckstrand with Cal OES. I'm a region coordinator out of Reading, and I'm your president-elect for the chapter.
Manny Vieira, I'm your CCAM and also a member of the Commercial Advisory Council for National NAPCO.
Jim Lencioni with the County of Placer. I'm also your acting executive council rep and your chapter PIO.
All right, thank you everyone and welcome. In terms of the agenda for the day, we're going to move into chapter business next. You'll hear some committee reports from some of our board of director members. Then at 10 o'clock, our original commercial sponsor, Voice Products, was unable to make it. So what we're going to do is open it up to those vendors that participated in the Cal APCO conference, which you'll hear more about from Manny in a little bit. And we'll give 10 minutes each to Kenwood, RGB Spectrum, Motorola, and JPS. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll go into our keynote presentation from Michelle and Jamila on the California Post-Basic Training Bureau updates. 12 o'clock, we'll have lunch, and then 1 o'clock, we'll break out into frequency coordination and operations roundtable. We do have door prizes today, so if you didn't get a red ticket on your way in, make sure you see Mike in the back. We do have door prizes today from the chapter, Motorola, and Kenwood. So with that, we'll get into chapter business. Manny, do you want to give an update on commercial-related activities?
Okay, so let's recap on the show too. Yeah, okay. So we held our second annual California APCO conference last month, and it was in Sacramento at the Convention Center. We had over 111 10x10 booths. The numbers were almost exactly what they were the year before in Los Angeles. So I think that's a good start for us. This is still a learning process for us and a growing process where we want to continue this. And both boards have made the decision to continue to make this thing a bigger show and a more valuable show. So that is the good news. So awesome show. It looked awesome. It looked like a national show. And I want to thank the commercial side for taking part of that, because without you guys, we would not have had the show. Our monthly meetings, we have the schedule for next year. It's on the back of this form. Please, if there's a month you want as a commercial, please let me know. I'd love to get it marked down now so we can start promoting you for next year. And let's see, what else I got? So as Carl said, we have the 4 factories that were at our show that will be presenting today, about a 10-minute little speech. Voice Products, he called me at 4 o'clock yesterday and said my plane was canceled and I'm on a standby for tomorrow. And I said, so anyway, he'll be here next year. So that's the good news.
All right, thank you, Manny. Mandy, would you like to come up and give an update on the Legislative Committee and Operations Committee?
Good morning, everybody. For those who went to 911 Goes to Sacramento, a couple updates on the bills that we were talking with senators and assembly members with earlier this year. It was Assembly Bill 327, which was the making swatting calls a wobbler, whether it be felony, and then the other one was 598, which was GIS mapping of schools. That's what we were talking about with some of our legislators back in May. Both of those are right now held in submission at the committee. What that means is that there is a desire to do some more work on the bill, so it hasn't moved forward past that stage yet. There could be a vote later, but it's just kind of sitting in purgatory right now, I think. A couple of other bills. U.S. Senate Bill 725 is currently the bill that is, what is it titled again? 1 second. It's attached to, that's a Senate Bill 725, and then there's House Bills 5200 and 5201, and they're all very similar and connected to each other in that most of them will be directing the FCC to report on disaster notification information reporting, as well as making reports on the Carries Law Act that went in. I don't remember the year that they enacted that, but Carries Law is basically making it so that you can dial 911 from a multi-line PBX type style phone system without having to dial 9 or another number in order to get out. It stems from a woman who was killed in a hotel room, and her 9-year-old daughter couldn't call 911 because she had to dial 9 before. She'd made multiple attempts to call 911 and couldn't get out because she didn't know she had to dial that number 9 before dialing 911. So the goal of that law is to remove that from all PBX systems. There's not going to be a number that you have to dial prior to dialing 911. So these bills are going to require the FCC to actually report on adherence to those laws. So that's my update for now.
Did you have anything for operations?
For operations, we will be meeting after this meeting, and just kind of wanted to touch a little bit more on Next Gen 911. There's been some changes at the state in who's handling what programs and things, so wanted to talk about that with people and see kind of where they are operationally with some of the Next Gen stuff that's coming out. So.
All right, thank you, Mandy. Mike, do you want to give a report on programs?
Okay, so for programs, just a reminder, next month, end of the year meeting will be at CHP headquarters in Sacramento, off of Richards Boulevard. It's usually well attended. Why not? It's CHP. And also elections are going to be coming out here very soon for board of directors and things like that. That will be announced at the December meeting. Also, we're going to swear in the new board for 2026. Yay me. I get to take over for Carl as your chapter president. We've got a good schedule planned for 2026. Jelly Belly Factory again, Campbell, Fresno, and a bunch of other places. Also look forward to the awards show again in Napa later on in the mid-year. So, and then the other big item that we're planning for 2026 is the California State Show, like we just held here in Sacramento. It'll be down in San Diego in October. I know our Southern California folks are looking forward to that, and hope to see you all down in San Diego in October. See you all next month.
Thank you, Mike. Jim, PIO and Executive Council.
So I'll hit on PIO first. So Mike mentioned the elections. Yes, elections are going to be open later today and run through our December meeting. They'll be online for all eligible members. Eligible members include those that are listed as full members according to APCO. If you have questions about your eligibility status or anything, let me know. But all eligible members will be getting an email here tomorrow, actually, with the link and everything and your information you need to vote. So there is that. We are still streaming. We'll be doing this for a while, so this is on YouTube. If you have a question, if you have something to be heard by anybody in the room, it needs to be said into one of these beautiful things, or we don't hear it online. Other than that, we should be good. Now for Executive Council, taking over for Tristan since he went on to bigger, better things for us. I've got a couple updates here for you. This is just what the Executive Board has been doing since September. They've gone to a number of events. They did an FCC roundtable on September 10th regarding implementing AI in the ECC. They met with Speaker Johnson's office about the 911 Saves Act on September 15th. FirstNet Advocacy event, September 16th. Board orientation meeting, September 20th. So this is the new board that got to meet together again after they were sworn in our last APCO International in Baltimore. They also attended the the Oregon APCO-NINA conference, September 23rd through 26th. Second VP Jennifer Reese was in attendance there. Also the Tennessee NINA APCA conference chapter meeting or conference, September 28th and October 1st, where immediate past President Stephen Martini was there. In October, they attended an AI summit with 7th and 8th in Orlando, where first Vice President Mike O'Connor and second Vice President Jennifer Reese again, they gave the opening and closing remarks. Then they attended the Washington APCO-NINA Fall Conference, October 14th through the 17th, where second VP Jennifer Reese attended that. And CEO and Executive Director Mel Mayer attended the International Association of Chiefs of Police Annual Conference and Expo, October 18th through the 21st. The Illinois Public Safety Telecommunications Association Conference, October 19th through the 22nd. And then the Michigan NAPCO annual meeting and awards dinner on October 23rd. So a lot of attending state and regional meetings for the executive board. We're not going to say that we missed them at our conference, but we did. Then we have, for government relations, they submitted a letter on September 9th to record the importance of NextGen 911 and FirstNet as essential components for modern resilience in public safety communications ecosystems. On September 11th, they celebrated the passage of in the Senate of the Enhancing First Responders Act, and now it's on to the House for that. And then later that month, they also filed comments regarding the improving reliability and operability of NextGen 911, which Mandy talked about. And then September 18th, they did an AI webinar titled AI Threats and New Solutions for Connecting Stalled 911 Calls. Regarding spectrum management, they provide an update to the FCC's 4.9 gigahertz granular data collection. They also did a summary of the Safer Buildings Coalition petition on signal boosters, which Greg had talked about. They also wanted to point out that in October, APCO AFC remained fully operational during the government shutdown, and they're also announcing the upcoming AFC technical training classes to be held June 1st through the 12th of next year, so that'll be coming up on their website here soon and available. As far as membership goes, they're proud to report that at the beginning of October of this year, they had a total of 41,859 total members.
All right, thank you, Jim. I have a few reports on behalf of other committee members from Jackie for finance and budget. As of October 31st, the end of last month, our account balance was $165,755.76. We do anticipate about $30,000 that is still owed for the remainder of the California APCO conference. So from that, we should be right around $135,000. So still very much in good standing on finance and budget. For awards and recognition, I'll report on behalf of Anna. We're still a ways away, but we did want to let you know that we are going to open up the awards nominations in December. They will close in February. That way we can get our awards at the chapter level submitted to International for consideration at the International APCO Conference. So you'll see the ability to provide those nominations starting in December. And then the award ceremony is at the same location as last year, where we had 70 plus people in attendance. It is at the Oak Farm Vineyards in Lodi on Thursday, May 7th at 6 p.m. So more to follow. Just wanted to let you guys know sooner than later about that aspect. And then the last committee report is nominations and membership. So reporting on behalf of Susie, we do have 23 new members since we last had a chapter meeting. So over the last 2 months, we have 23 new members from agencies including Alameda County EMS, Alameda County Fire Department, Cirrus PD, National Park Service, Oakland Housing Police, Richmond PD, Sacramento PD, San Francisco Department of Emergency Management, Sutter Buttes Communications, Tulare County Fire, and Yuba City PD. So that does bring our total membership for Northern California up to 844 members. And then the last part of business is on nominations. So as Mike mentioned, we do have multiple positions coming up as we do every year. This year we have 3 director positions that are opening. So far we have nominated Larry and Kirk, who are both part of the board currently and can continue to serve, and then Cassandra McCann-Stever from CHP. This is the point where these nominations are official and they become part of the ballot, so we are taking additional nominations. So as I go through here, any of these positions, I'll open up to the floor one more time for any additional nominations. Otherwise, those announced today will be the ones on the ballot that Jim spoke of. So again, 3 director positions. We currently have Larry, Kirk, and Cassandra. For vice president, which is starting the presidential 4-year rotation, we have 2 nominations for Shelley and Mandy. And then for executive council rep, we've got 1 position available for that. Jim is currently serving in an interim role. He is the sole candidate for that position. And then Anna, as part of reflecting what International does, although she was voted in last year as the VP, it'll be a yes/no vote on the ballot for her to become president the following year after Mike. So with that, I'll open up to the floor if there are any additional nominations for any of those positions. All right, seeing none, those are the names that will be on the ballot. And with that, that concludes chapter business, and we will invite our first, where to go? Manny, who was our first rep? I think someone took my paper. We're going to go right into the first invite. Why don't we have Jamie come up first from Motorola? So 10 minutes max. Anything you want to relay to the group?
Good morning. My name's Jamie Johnson. Again, I'm with Motorola Solutions. I am based out of San Diego, and I support PSAPs, all of the PSAPs north of LA County. My role is primarily to work with PSAPs addressing their CPE and call handling solutions. So I support our Vesta portfolio, but I'm part of a team that supports everything from radio, CAD, fixed and mobile, video and cameras, so the full breadth of the Motorola ecosystem. I did write some notes, because without notes I tend to stray, and next thing you know we're talking about taco shops and Trader Joe's if I don't have to keep myself on track. For those of you that are work within one of the agencies or within a comm center in California, you're aware that probably that in December of last year, Cal OES decided to reopen that statewide CPE contract. So originally, there was a strategy that you were only going to be able to refresh your call handling solution with a cloud-based CPE, and they reopened that contract, and now they're to allow for on-prem solutions. So for Motorola, we're now on that contract. We had to go through a recertification of our Vesta solution. Then we went through a pricing exercise with Cal OES. And in July, early August, we finished that process. And so now PSAPs now in California, they now have the choice of either going with a cloud-based call handling solution or with what they refer to as a legacy on-prem solution. So here in California, about 85% of the PSAPs are already using Motorola's Vesta CPE. And what this means for those PSAPs is you'll be able to refresh your existing CPE, your call handling solution, with a Vesta solution that's going to have the same look and feel as you're currently used to and what's already built into your operating procedures. But in addition to that, Motorola is adding the option for what we refer to it as a hybrid solution. So you will have the ability to opt in and take advantage of some of those sort of advanced features and functionality. So think about things like transcription, translation, having the ability to see floor plans of a school or a hospital or any facility based on where you're seeing that call come in from. So for those of you that are in that, and I would venture to say about 90% of the PSAPs in California are at some stage of figuring out their refresh strategy. For anyone that's interested in taking a look at either flavor of Motorola solutions, so we have our Vesta Next, which is our cloud-based solution, and then we have Vesta 911, which is our on-prem solution. So if anybody's interested in taking a look at that, we're happy to come out and meet with you and provide a demo, sort of show you what the new functionality and the new features would be. Also, we would, our go-to-market strategy here in California, we do a lot of work with channel partners. So we work with Lumen, Frontier, and AT&T, and there are also some agencies that purchase their CPE directly from Motorola. So that going forward, that will continue to be our go-to-market strategy. So I say that to let you know that the 911 technicians that have become a part of your family and a part of your organization, whichever direction and whatever path you decide to move forward with, those people and those technicians will still be a part of your organization. I think really that was pretty much it. We've been hosting a lot of regional demos where we come in and invite all the PSAPs in a specific county to come in and take a look at the demo, and those have been very helpful, I think, because you're able to listen to your peers and hear what's going on in other agencies and see what questions that you have in common. But now I think we've gotten to the point where we're doing a lot more one-on-one meetings with customers, because now it's time to drill down into your specific needs. So we have a full schedule. We're going to be out in the field between now and the end of the year, and then of course we can go ahead and start booking meetings for Q1 if anyone's interested. All right.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, Dan, do you want to come up and present next?
Thanks, Carl. Nice to see you all again. Dan Marcus with RGB Spectrum. RGB Spectrum makes systems that live at the nexus of ECCs, real-time crime centers, and EOCs. Sometimes we get in a little bit of trouble because we are eager to see a close collaboration between these rooms. And sometimes that's the right move, and sometimes that might be a future move or not appropriate to some agencies. So what we try to do is provide value for each leg of a department or an agency, or agencies that are looking to work together by using some common tools that are valuable across systems when you want to join workflows visually, when you want to federate expertise from one room to another visually. We have those capabilities, but we like to focus on the needs of the users and the supervisory layer in a specific workflow. So briefly, I'm gonna walk through how we fit into these spaces and how we can sometimes bring them together when that is also the department's goal. So in an emergency communication center, we often see systems that have evolved over time to have a level of complexity, an ergonomic challenge that we can address. So a lot of times you have multiple systems, multiple computers running on different networks, and that's why we have this very complex, very impressive workflow that many of you dispatchers and supervisors in the room work through all the time. It's very, very challenging, and it grew out of load balancing. Wanted to have computers on different or applications that are critical on different computers, and it grew out of redundancy, wanting to be able to reach critical screens. 911 has no voicemail, right? It doesn't go down. So you have to have these systems in a high availability workflow. Well, we take that kind of concept and we bring it back into a more ergonomic condition where you can see all of your underlying systems. So we're not the applications. We rely upon the experts and your current systems as they stand today. But we bring them together into a common workflow at the desk for 911 that can bridge the keyboard and mouse behavior across computers that are running on different networks. So to some extent, we are audiovisual solutions to IT challenges, right? This is an expression that we use a lot. Carlos on our team here really likes that expression because we run into that frequently where we have IT professionals who know the tools very well, very sophisticated teams who support you 24 hours a day. And the idea of being able to create a common workflow across networks, that's a challenging thing in IT. But for audiovisual, for our piece of audiovisual, for command and control, it's a daily occurrence. So we allow computers to now be portable. We're a distribution system. We can move video. We can move a computer's video, a computer's screen to any position in a room. And we can move control of that computer to any position in the room. So now it's not necessarily your computer. It's a computer that has the tools that you need. And now that it's available to a specific operator, it can be available to multiple operators. So now there's a supervisory layer within the room or a training layer within the room. The ability for a supervisor to peer into the workflow of a specific telecommunicator and give feedback, give some direction, give real-time direction if need be, and even elevate that to additional screens like front of room video wall concerns or real-time crime centers or department operation centers. So that's how we go from fixing or improving a workflow at the desk to taking that workflow and allowing it to move beyond the desk to other places where the expertise of those users at the desk, the ECC operators and telecommunicators and their supervisory layer, can push that resource and that knowledge base out to other folks who may be doing a completely different or complementary workflow in a different department. Maybe it's an emergency operations center, maybe it's a real-time crime center, could be in the building, could be beyond the building. So you could kind of look at what we're doing and the hardware that we develop for distributing video and combining video. You could look at these kinds of systems as a supplement to your core resources, a way to take your knowledge and your user base and your applications and make them available to more than one position so that the people who can make the decisions have better common operating picture, have better visibility into what their team members are doing, and can give direct feedback into the organization. So RGB is a problem solver. We're here to help you guys design systems that will extend the usefulness of your application layer to multiple positions, to multiple contributors, and to multiple stakeholders, whether at the desk or at the front of room, or even in large video wall concerns. Our technology is a bridge or a system of systems. And that's what we like to spend our time doing, is visiting with you and working with you on how to improve your situational awareness and your collaboration either within the room or beyond the room across the agency. Appreciate the time. Again, Dan Marcus, RGB Spectrum.
Thank you very much, Dan. All right, next up, Kenwood JVC / EF Johnson, Dave.
Thank you, Carl. So hi, I'm Dave Jones, or Davy Jones, since there's a lot of David Joneses around, or my wife just calls me Shut Up Dave. So I'll try and keep this to 10 minutes because I'm a talker. So what is EF Johnson? And every time I go to a trade show, we have a lot of fun. IACP 2 years ago in Dallas, Texas was a blast. We had this big hang-up sign. It says JVC Kenwood. And the sheriff comes up with his undersheriff and he says, Jivik Kenwood. Jivik Kenwood. Is that anything about like Kenwood, like stereos? So we've kept ourselves a secret for a very long time. I don't know why. I guess we're shy. But EF Johnson, yes, we're wholly owned by Kenwood USA. Kenwood is wholly owned by JVC Kenwood. They merged a long time ago. So that's the story there. EF Johnson is over 100 years old. It's funny because I feel like I've been there forever. So it hasn't been that long. What do we do? Well, you're probably familiar with some of our Viking line. We have a beautiful portable mobile, the VM and the VP8000s. Really good radios, and they've been that way for a long time. I still love the demonstrations. We should start doing it again. Bring a gas-powered chainsaw and the radio, and then have a radio in a quiet spot, and you talk on the VP8000 using the True Voice right next to this screaming chainsaw, and you don't hear it in the other radio. It's pretty incredible. A part of the Viking line, and let me back up and just kind of give you our philosophy. E.F. Johnson used to build all our own stuff. We still do, but we have also, in today's day and age with IT, realized the importance of the backhaul and the back network. So we're very centric on networking. We want to make sure everything's going to talk to each other, even with redundancy. So if something fails, the system will heal itself. We do that same type of thinking with the portables. So when we got bought up by Kenwood, we saw some of their equipment, and so we liked that. Let's upgrade the memory in them. And so the Kenwood portables you may be familiar with, the TK and NX lines, they became VPs and VMs. With that came along a couple other things. Armada is our programming software, and actually kind of like a system manager or inventory manager. It tracks and gives you data on each radio you have in service, and it does that by basically talking to the radio. There's a little mode called kiosk mode where your staff can come in with their device, and either through Wi-Fi, or I just prefer good old-fashioned cables, plug that thing in, turn the radio on, and the Armada software says, oh, there's been an update to your programming. Should I update you? And you can select whether you update it or not. If you don't want that radio to be updated with the new data, it won't get it. But if you do, then it will get that change and that change only. So it doesn't take forever for the radio to get programmed. So your operators, your officers, your firefighters, the EMS, they all can get in and get out real quick, and they don't actually have to go find a tech unless they don't know how to turn the radio on or replace a battery if it's dead. The other benefit to the Viking line, we do have something called the Vault, and that is where not all licenses, we're working on it, but when you buy licenses for your radio, let's say you've got P25 Phase 2 in this radio, and that radio is either replaced or it's damaged, that license can be transferred to another radio. And that's all done through the Armada software with usually some help from us, just because people have to get used to that change. And before I wrap up on the subscribers, recently we did, I don't know the nature of the arrangement, but oops, try not to fall over. We acquired or partnered up with ESChat, and so that's pretty exciting because there's a lot of work going on with them. Beyond that, there's some things that you probably don't know about us, and that is our system and dispatch. We have a little console called a Stargate. This is based on a Dell product. It uses Windows, so yes, you got to deal with the Windows updates. I keep telling them I'd like to see it run on something that doesn't get updated all the time, but the neat thing is, you know, I love you IT people. You have taught the radio world that there is a life cycle. You don't have to have your radio system up for 30 years, but if you want to, it works great. But literally, you don't want to be running on have a critical piece of software running on an old machine, because it is going to quit. And you know it's not going to quit when you want it to. It's going to quit when it's least expected. But the real benefit to Stargate is that it's very affordable. It's not highly configurable. I mean, you can change colors and put things wherever you want on the screen for your operators for dispatch. But you know, the bells and whistles, it's simple. It's about $15,000 to $25,000 per position. That nice little Stargate interfaces to the reason I'm here, and that's Atlas. Our Atlas solution keeps growing and expanding. I know a lot of people say, well, it's really old. That equipment's been around forever. Well, yeah, the shell and the look is, but everything on the inside of that Atlas machine is different. We basically break Atlas down into about 5 components. Not all of them are critical. But the point is, I was talking about networking. We've got this thing designed so that it has redundancies down to the actual repeater, the machine sitting there in the rack. It's got smarts in it. So if we lose backhaul, the system can continue to work. And it all is based on the architecture of your system, and I won't bore you with those details here. But if you ever have any questions, more than happy to talk about it. Atlas is not only pretty affordable, but because it's decentralized, it's very reliable. It's also very flexible in the design. And oh, what else do I want to say? Well, I just call it self-healing. I've seen it happen. It's cool. And then we have a little product line called Kairos. Kairos comes out of Italy, and the purpose of the Kairos product hasn't really changed. We brought that in years ago because we wanted another product that we could eventually interface into our Atlas system that could work in solar environments. And the Italians have made a very nice low power consumption, very small footprint radio that can go just about anywhere, including if you can't get any kind of IT link there, it'll do RF links between itself. And that will be, we're getting, so nerd talk, our new release it'll be announced at IACP, no, at IWCE next year. We're adding DFSI into that product. And thank you, because I've probably gone over my 10 minutes. I got a few left? Okay. I'll dance. Well, I could tell you, let's see. Yeah, I'll tell you a story. You know, one of the reasons I love working at E.F. Johnson is that our team members are a kick. Do we all get along all the time? No. But we really are on the same team, and we back each other up, and it reminds me a little bit of being in the Marine Corps. It's a kick. Of course, there's a lot of Marines there too, so I don't know how we all get involved in radio. But it reminds me, you know, when we have a failure, we're always trying to do our best and do it for the client. And so when I was in the Marine Corps, I did 30 days of funeral duty. I was in North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, and I didn't want to do it. My dad always said volunteer, and if you're voluntold, volunteer. But I did not want to do that because I wanted my weekends to party. But I had to go. And before I knew it, the first ceremony we went to, I mean, it was touching. It was a real honor. And I went all over the place with this. So one Saturday, we have a call to go down to a pauper cemetery. This is down around Wilmington, North Carolina. And this gentleman, Vietnam vet, he passed away. He was homeless, but he had volunteered in the homeless shelter. And the manager of that homeless shelter had gotten to know him real well. And when the man passed, he had asked and done all the paperwork for us to come down and give him honors. Well, this pauper cemetery is in North Carolina, in the swamps. And I'm sorry, we get lost. The bus driver gets lost. We've got our sack lunches, we've got all the people we need, but we can't find the cemetery. And we drive around, and now it's an hour later. We finally come to the cemetery. And out on the other side of the cemetery, in the muck, we can see the digging crew. and they're taking their lunch. So everything's done, we've missed it, but we're there. So what do? We go, okay, let's go out. We trod through the muck, and we go up, and here's the hole, and there's a concrete cask top on it, and tractors over there, and 5 fellows are eating lunch, and we just says, if you don't mind, we'd like to give our friend honors. And sure, so we go ahead and do the ceremony, and it was perfect. There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. And we get done. The oldest fella there in the digging crew, he walks up to me and he says, partner, I lost audio. I've never seen anything like this in my 35 years of sinking septic tanks. But you still have to do the best you can, even when you mess it up.
All right, thank you, Dave. All right, last but not least, and then we'll get into our networking break. Iggy from JPS.
Did you want the? Yeah, I want to project. Yeah, thank you. Because I'm not as refined as Jamie, Dan, or Dave, I'm going to use props. So give me a second. Okay, thank you. That's so stressful. All right, I'm Iggy Brigado. Again, I'm a solution engineer with JPS. I'm here with my colleague, George Ziegler. He's our Western Regional Sales Manager. You're based out of, yeah, I always say Oceanside. Kind of same thing, right? So one thing I want to talk about is DFSI, and it's kind of a good segue because Dave and I talked a little bit a few months ago about their Kairos station, and I was asking him if they're going to introduce DFSI into that base station. Sounds like you're going to do that, so that's a good thing. And so it's a good segue because we're JPS. We're going to integrate DFSI into our gateway platforms. I happen to bring one of our real small gateways. This is an RSP-Z2. It's a dual-channel gateway. We have 50-channel gateway, so I didn't want to bring one of those. What's interesting about this box is it can do lots of things. So I like this slide because it really defines what a gateway is. And what a gateway really does is it allows different communication protocols or transport protocols to be aggregated into a single point. And the beauty of a small box like this, it can not only operate by itself, but it can also be consolidated into a large distributed wide area system using those different transport protocols, commonly called our radio over internet protocol or ROIP. And you can see various transport protocols that are surrounding the gateway itself. On the left side of the gateway, you can see a list of push-to-talk of a cellular solutions that our little gateways can support. Even our large 50-channel gateways can also support push-to-talk of a cellular. Everything is embedded into our digital signal processors. No recurring costs are associated with any of those push-to-talk of a cellular services in our box. In fact, there are no recurring costs in our box. So I like this because it's a really good example of what a gateway can support. And again, it's hard to see, but I got 4 little quadrants around the gateway, and we can mix and match those different transport protocols or communication interfaces. At the top, you can see we can support 2 4-wire devices, and traditionally, we would attach a donor radio to the back of the unit. So we got low impedance 4-wire transmit and receive information, ingressing and egressing the box. We got control signaling like PTT and core. We got some RS-232, aux inputs and outputs. So lots of capabilities in that little box. So I just wanted to show you that, and let's kind of remember these transport protocols and resources that the gateway can support. So we are currently integrating DFSI, or Digital Fixed Station Interface protocols, into all our gateways, including the low capacity RSPZ2 that we have here and our other large solutions. And again, what's important about these gateways, they can operate in sort of a mesh type of architecture where I could have many of these gateways positioned around my state, like Callaway is actually doing, or the state of Florida. They have probably 150 of those boxes throughout the state of Florida, all interacting together and sharing those protocols that I just showed you earlier. And so the introduction of DFSI kind of opens up a lot of things for us. And in terms of, just to simplify what DFSI is the ability for, in a conventional P25 environment, for consoles to interact with base stations, and base stations to interact with consoles. So that's a really simplified example or definition of what DFSI does, particularly for us. And so what's interesting about, all right, so that's that interaction between consoles and base stations. So what's the duties of the host or the console? Is to interact with base stations. And what is the duty or the purpose of a source or a station, which is the base station, like the Kairos that we were talking about earlier, is that the base station follows commands sent by the console. For instance, to share audio, encrypted audio, possibly, change channels, maybe share user ID across this system from the console to subscriber units out in the field. And vice versa, subscriber units out in the field, they can share their user ID from their subscriber units into the console system, and then we can disseminate that information. And my original slide where I showed all those different types of push to talk over cellular services and communication types or resources, they can all share that information, which is pretty interesting, even if you're not P25 conventional. All right, so pretty simple. Consoles essentially control base stations. Base stations provide P25 information to the console, and we're sharing ID and in some cases, metadata and control. And so how does that come into play for us? Because this box is neither a base station or neither a console. It's a gateway. It's not a console or a base station, but it can act as a proxy to that. So there's an example of one of our, we call it a 12-channel gateway on the bottom right. It's actually, if you do a resource count, there's probably close to 60 resources in that box. And again, the low capacity RSPZ2, they can all talk to each other over these transport protocols. We can scatter these things throughout the state, the United States, overseas, as long as we got terrestrial or SATCOM or LTE to share that ROIP data. On the bottom left is a little hardware key. It looks like a USB memory stick. And what that does, it provides the AMBE vocoder capabilities into these gateways. And what's nice about using a hardware key is that we can attach that to existing gateways that are out in the field and add more purpose to those existing gateways. I think in the future we're going to start embedding the AMBE vocoder into our circuit boards, but this gives us a lot of future proofing of existing gateways out in the field. So real quick look at what the gateway can provide in terms of being either a base station or a console is kind of interesting. Because again, our gateways are neither a console or a base station. So here's a really good example of the gateway that you see on the left-hand side. It's going to be a proxy or act as if it were a console or a host. And what does a DFSI host, what will it do? It'll actually control the base station, share encrypted information with the P25 conventional base station, and push that information like the ID of the dispatch console out to the field units. And a really good example of this is, here's an example of a what we call an interoperable domain, where we can take the DFSI host, which is the yellow tile that you see on the right, and maybe integrate it with a non-DFSI capable console, or it could be even push to talk with cellular. It could be an HF radio. That's the beauty of the gateway hosting DFSI, because it can act as a proxy, in this case, as a DFSI host or a console. And for the subscriber units out in the field, we can then share ID as if that non-DFSI capable console looks as if it were a DFSI console. All right, so that's again the benefit of having DFSI in a gateway. It can take non-DFSI capable communication resources and make them appear as if they were P25 conventional. And we can share ID. So let's reverse this. Let's make the gateway act as if it were a base station. It's not a base station, but we can make it act like a DFSI base station. And now we can interact with consoles. So Zetron, consoles, Intertalk, Mindshare, most consoles will support. They can control base stations. So what's going to happen if we are going to be the source as the gateway, DFSI gateway, we can then be controlled by a console in terms of maybe changing channels, sharing ID, and other metadata as well. So here's a good example of taking something that is possibly not DFSI capable, like push to talk of a cellular. If we look at ES Chat, I know JVC Kenwood's now all about ES Chat. We have been, JPS has been working with ES Chat from almost the very, very beginning. But you know, now we can actually propagate ID from the likes of ES Chat, Zello, FirstNet, AT&T, all those push-to-talk over cellular services that you saw on the left. We can take that ID and push that out to the console and display that information, which is pretty interesting. So here's something you might not see. I'm trying to wrap my on this type of use case where we can take these base station and console proxies, which are gateways, and support devices that are not P25 conventional and share that information. So I think this really, DFSI for us really opens up, a broad base of really solutions, like working with Kairos and things like that. And just to think about what this gateway can support is those solutions that I showed earlier. I'm not going to bore you with this technical screen here. But again, if we look at these gateways acting as DFSI proxies, we can turn all these resources that most of these are not DFSI or P25 compliant. They can act as if they're a P25. We can show that ID. So this is DFSI is going to be available in our gateway in December. I've been testing in San Jose a little bit over the internet. Actually, we have a proxy base station at our engineering lab in Raleigh. I've got my proxy console P25, which I really don't. The gateway's acting like the console, and I'm talking over the internet to a base station in Raleigh, North Carolina, and sharing information. And we've been doing a lot of testing with the BK M150 stations, which are P25 conventional DFSI capable, and appreciate it. So I think that really opens up a lot for us in terms of digital protocols and acting as DFSI proxies. Thank you. And I couldn't have done that without the
All right, thank you again. Thanks again to those four business partners for their participation and sponsorship in the California APCO conference. So with that, we'll take a networking break, and we'll return at 11 o'clock with a presentation from Post. Thank you. right, thank you everyone. So it's 11 o'clock. We will get started with our keynote speakers. So we have Jamila and Michelle from Post who are going to give us an update on public safety dispatcher programs and projects. So thank you guys again very much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm Jamila. This is Michelle. So I apologize if this is redundant for a few of you, but I know I've seen a couple of you at some of the other conferences and things that we've been to. So we're just going to give a quick spiel on some Post things. So like it says, program and project updates. So a little bit of a background for Post mission and the role that we kind of play in the law enforcement community. So Post mission is to continually enhance the professionalism of law enforcement in serving its community. In short, it's very long, but in short, that's pretty much what it is. Post was established by legislature in 1959 to set minimum standards for law enforcement. So it's kind of grown right into this bigger thing where they set these standards for hiring, recruitment, for like all of the background, the training, and how anybody who is a part of the Post program should be complying to these different regulations and standards. Dispatchers were then added into the Post program in 1988 after kind of like figuring out, oh, dispatchers play a pretty critical role in the law enforcement community. Maybe we should establish some training and some standards for them too. So a little bit of kind of how Post is structured. Post is like headed by directors. So our executive director is Manny Alvarez, and then I'll talk about that and how he kind of falls into that. But a little bit is like the Post Commission is a board of about 13 members that kind of help and oversee some of the training and the standardizations of the Post and what Post is putting out. So it's not like Post has this authority to do everything. It has to go through a lot of hoops first before it can get it out to everybody. SB2, which was established in 2021, came into law and created like this whole new bureau or division of Post. It's called the Peace Officer Standards Accountability. There's a advisory board, and then it created the PostAD Bureau, and within Post that also does all of those things. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then the advisory committee. So it's a state agency, right? We play a critical role in enhancing law enforcement's training, regulations, and laws and everything. So we have a lot of people to answer to. I guess I'll talk about this now. So SB2 created the certification and decertification of law enforcement officers within Post. So I think our staffing went from.
I think we doubled in staffing.
Yeah, I think.
SB2 enacted.
Yes. So pretty much it might have been 100 of an agency, and then it became, well, I think right now we're like 240 or something for staff members. So SB2 is this huge division that basically comes and takes all of these complaints and allegations and things from the public, from agencies for officers in order to decertify them if it's like something of serious misconduct. So it created a couple of divisions, an intake and disposition bureau that will intake all of the complaints, and it created the certification bureau that will decertify. Certification also does some other things with certification of dispatch certificates as well, so that's a little bit separate, but they also do that. And then it created the actual, like I said, the actual committee that oversees these complaints and gives recommendations to the commission on whether or not they should certify or decertify them. All right. So here's a simplified organizational chart of our Post team and kind of how we're organized. At the very top, it might be a little small, but there is our executive director. And then we have 3 assistant executive directors who oversees different things like the field services division, standards and development division, and like I said, the peace officer standards and accountability division. So they have all of these bureaus underneath them. So I'm a part of right over here, the field services, because our bureau is basically to do things within the community. So we are like actively going out, speaking, talking, and creating training for law enforcement community. That's why it's like more field services, because we're kind of in the field. So also administrative services bureau is under there, but they do all like the procurement and travel and all your administrative things. Our basic training bureau is housing all of the basic training courses. That's where Michelle's bureau is. So everything, all of the basic training for dispatch and for peace officers is under that bureau. Learning Technology and Resources Bureau creates training like online. Like if you've ever utilized the learning portal, they are kind of manning that and creating those trainings for people. And then I'm the Management, Counseling, and Projects Bureau, and our bureau does a variety of things, but holds workshops with SMEs in order to update publications and guidelines within POST, as well as go out to management studies, and we'll get into later, but go out and conduct management studies in different programs, in different agencies. So Standards and Development Division, Computer Services Bureaus like our IT, they have our web unit, they do data, they do applications, they create a lot of applications actually for our agency. Strategic Communications and Research Bureau is your bureau that's going to be doing like testing, job analysis, research, like the post entry level tests and those type of tests, that's where they're developed. Training, delivery, and compliance, if you've worked with a regional consultant, then they are here. So they kind of do course approval, help to create and approve and certify courses that are being taught from various presenters in the community. And then training program services, they create a lot of course curriculum. So we're talking about our intake and disposition, certification, our professional conduct. So all of the other bureaus under POSAD is basically just divided up into regions. So you got Southern, Northern, and Central, and those are the actual bureaus that go ahead and make sure that and conduct the investigation. They just kind of divide it up by region because it makes it fair. So then you have your good old human resources, and we have a legal affairs with our chief counsel and Office of Public Affairs. So they deal with like all of the legislative and media inquiries.
All right, perfect. So now that you guys kind of know a little bit about how POST works, I wanted to talk to you guys about the Dispatcher's Basic course. So by a show of hands, who took the 120-hour Dispatcher's Basic course? A couple of you, couple of my operation. Did anyone take the 80-hour one? No one wants to age themselves. So the Dispatcher's Basic course had not been updated since 2011. So that was kind of a big POST project to update that training. So why did we update it, aside from the fact it hadn't been updated since 2011? It's because we need to integrate new standards and best practices and better support the field. So the changes to the Public Safety's Dispatcher's Basic course went into effect on January 1. So we created new learning domains and updated some commission regulations to reflect the changes. And because we added new learning domains, the instruction time increased to 160 hours from 120. So what did we change? And I apologize if this is a little small. So Learning Domain 107 used to be community policing. It used to be cultural diversity, hate crimes, and gang awareness in an 8-hour class. So that learning domain got separated because what we were finding with course presenters is that an equal amount of time was not being dedicated to each of those topics. So within an 8-hour class that was including all of these topics, folks might spend 4 hours on gang awareness and then 4 hours on everything else. So we separated those learning domains out, and then you can see we also added some new learning domains as well as some new learning activities. So everything that's in red is what was updated. And basically we added instructional time to the learning domains totaling 146 hours. And then there's this other section of the class that's supporting instructional activities and exercises, which is hours that presenters can use for hands-on scenarios, maybe going into a dispatch center and listening to calls, a variety of different training methods and different learning activities to kind of increase and enhance training based on what the presenter has available to them. So some of the course presenters are local colleges, some of them are agencies, so each presenter is going to have different technology and different capabilities for what they can use for their learning activities. And I have a fly that like loves me right now, so I'm not like just waving at everybody. So things that were added. So LD 114 is mental health conditions and intellectual developmental disabilities. So this came about because of Senate Bill 882. So what this Senate bill did, and this was approved back in 2022, is it established an advisory council that was focused on improving interactions between law enforcement and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So because that advisory council was formed, they recommended to post that both peace officers and dispatchers receive training. So that's why that learning domain came about. For LD 115, human trafficking, that came about because, oop, I went too far. Go back. Because we are seeing increased amount of human trafficking throughout the United States as well as in California specifically, so that learning domain was created. And when I say created, I don't mean that people at Post got together and said, here's what we're going to do. We got subject matter experts from the field to come in through, actually it was during COVID, so come in virtually with their hearts and minds and participate in workshops to develop the content for these learning domains. For LD 116, same kind of thought behind LD 116 as the human trafficking one, is we're seeing an increase in terrorism and specifically extremist groups, and to make sure our dispatchers are aware of that. For LD 117, cultural diversity and hate crimes, there was an Assembly Bill 2504 that requires dispatchers to receive training about is it SOGI? You're going to have to forgive me because I want to get it right. So it's sexual orientation and gender identity, so SOGI minority groups in California. So this include terminology as well as creating an inclusive workplace within law enforcement. And once again, that was an assembly bill that was passed in 2018 requiring this training for dispatchers, so that's why that's included now. And then LD 118, it's still 2 hours for gang awareness like it was before in the 120-hour version. For those operational folks here, just by a show of hands, have we sent any of our new dispatchers to this new course? Couple people? Oh, perfect. So for those dispatchers that previously took the 120-hour course, they do not have to go retake this course as a requirement per post. If they've had a break of service, that is at that hiring agency's discretion whether to send them back, right? You have a dispatcher that hasn't been dispatching for 10 years, and they're coming back. Currently, that's at an agency discretion as to whether or not to send them back through the basic course. All right, I'm going to hand it back to Jamila. We're going to have time for questions at the end, I swear, but to talk a little bit about certificates.
Okay, so I only have it up here. Most people already know the difference of this, but I like to explain it when I'm in rooms with line level staff and dispatchers because we get a lot of questions. We get emails a lot from the public and from other people because they want to get their certificate. So there's also everybody else. There's a basic course certificate. You take your basic course, you get your certificate. But a post-professional certificate that exists for dispatchers has more eligibility requirements. You must be currently employed as a dispatcher, must successfully pass your probation, and then depending on some of the other criteria that you might meet, education requirements, and if you are a supervisor, also have to take a course and go through these other steps in order to get the other levels of professional certificates that there are. There's also one for records, so there's a couple of different levels. So some agencies have offered some incentives to earning those certificates, so I always just like to put that out there that you should check with your agency. If you don't currently possess a post-professional certificate and you qualify, that check with your agency in which they might apply on your behalf, because some do it automatically, some you have to go into the post-pass account, which we'll talk about in a minute, and you can go and apply for those things. Or you can ask your training or management and see who has access to that system in order to apply. So before you leave, like, you know, dispatch engineer's like, oh, I want to take a break. Like she's like, the break in service, you might leave the state. We get all of these questions, so this is why I'm bringing it up. I'm not encouraging anybody to leave. So we get these questions. You might decide to go to school or to leave because of parenting and other things that might be happening in your life, and decide you want to come back. It is a good thing to have under your belt to show, because I've also seen them on job announcements, and for people to possess their post-professional certificate in order to kind of qualify them as like a second level or non-entry level, that they have to prove that they have the dispatch experience. It's an easy way to identify that. So there's, like I said, basic core certificate. We always have to explain to our people who are maybe interested in becoming a public safety dispatcher and who are contacting us and how-tos, what the difference is, and then like your post-professional certificate, because there was a time when I worked as a dispatcher, I didn't know that that was available to me, and now I don't qualify, so.
So yeah, I would, like Jamil said with the job posting, I would encourage you, if you have sway in your agency to affect those duty statements or the job postings, to make it very clear what your requirements are, because we do see a lot of job postings that folks will send to post and like, help me apply, and it'll say you need your dispatch certificate, but it doesn't specify, does that mean like a course completion, or does that mean a professional certificate? So as you're thinking about hiring, consider updating your job task duty statement. I think you kind of touched on this, about that. Touched on that. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about a post-pass account. If you access the post-learning portal, you should have a post-pass account. But what we found is folks that have a post-pass account and can access their learning portal aren't maybe accessing everything that their post-pass account can do. So if you don't have one, I'm assuming you do, you can sign up on our post webpage and you fill out all the information, and then you have a post-pass account. This is my big ask though. If you have not signed up to get emails from Post, please do. You can sign up using your post-pass account to get emails specifically about our post bulletins, which is where we post information like we were looking for members for an advisory council, or send emails out about what we're doing in dispatch. So if you have not done this already, please do it. It's currently the only way we can communicate with the dispatch field at large. So this is our big ask if you haven't done so already. Through your post-pass account, you can also access your post profile, which includes all of the trainings. Something that we're finding with the training specifically in regards to CPT training is that not all of the trainings that people are taking on the post-learning portal are appearing on their training record. I'll go into that in a second. So with the post-learning portal, you can have free online trainings. Some of the trainings that are online that are applicable for CPT need a roster submitted. About half of them, the roster automatically submits through the post-learning portal, and half of them need a roster to be submitted on behalf of the trainees. So that's something that's very simple to do, but it just requires somebody with access in EDI to submit a roster on your folks' behalf. So if you are unfamiliar with that, we can chat later, but just to have that in the back of your head, that some of the trainings do require a roster to be submitted. So I'm sure you guys are all aware we're about halfway through a CPT cycle. That's our continuing professional training. That's 24 hours every 2 years for line level and supervisory staff. By a show of hands, who uses the learning portal to get their CPT training for their folks? Shy hands? Yeah. Does anyone get their own trainings post-certified? Ooh, I see one hand. So you can work with a regional consultant to get trainings that are specific to your agency post-certified for CPT credit. So you can take How Do You Copy on the post-learning portal, but you can also create a training that's specific to your agency to make it applicable to your folks. Along with the CPT credit training, there is a lot of instructor training available on the Post Learning Portal. So if you have folks that you are trying to develop, trying to increase their instructor skills, maybe they want to be a supervisor or an instructor one day, there are free courses for law enforcement on the Post Learning Portal about being an instructor. And that's not even going through the Academy Instructor Certification Program. That's just online. We talked a little bit about CPT. Has anyone ever looked at the CPT compliance report? No? Does anyone know it's a thing? See some head nods and some no's. So there is a compliance report on the Post website that shows all of the dispatchers and who has completed and not completed their CPT training. Just food for thought. We're halfway through, 24 hours, 2 years. Post Learning Portal. And our next ask, I'm going to have Jamila go over.
Okay, so yes, the next ask, not only to sign up for publications, but please, please, please sign up to be a subject matter expert or a SME on the PostPass account as well, because we are only, you know, facilitators of the processes, but you guys are the voices, and we can't really do much in development without the SMEs and the field. Like we're here to push our process along and push these things along, but basically we need you. We need everybody to be involved in the processes, and we also like to make sure that we have a good, diverse thought process. So like we want to utilize everyone available and not just kind of like maybe the same 10 people that want to always come and hang out with Post. But, you know, so come on and hang out. And now that COVID is over, some of these things have been moved to in person. So we do have a couple of things that are still occurring virtually, which we'll get into, but we are holding more workshops in person. It is reimbursable to come in if you're selected to be a SME, and you have to travel to be reimbursed for your travel costs and fees and stuff, and come and hang out with Post for 3 days and work on some projects that we have going on. So we'll talk about some of our upcoming projects. Assessment tools. Yeah.
You talk about this? You want me to talk about this?
So some of the Post resources is some of the assessment tools, research, development of training courses, and leadership and training programs. I talked a little bit about like TPS, our bureau that kind of does courses. I feel like a lot of our bureaus really work on courses, just to kind of depends on who you're talking to and what they've got going and what kind of course it is. Our strategic research bureau, they do a lot of the job analysis and research into different things that are occurring, and always trying to improve and update those things. Assessment tools, so these are just a few of the resources that's available via Post if you care to reach out. One of the things that Michelle just said about CPT, that you can get your own courses or your training certified with a regional consultant so that you can utilize that. And so like that's just something, if it's specific to your agency, if you're seeing something happening, reoccurring, that might be like an issue. Like I know once we had something going on with like SVS entries before, and it became like kind of like the same mistake happening over and over, and we kind of made sure like to implement it into our mandatory training day, got it certified so that it counts toward our CPT, and added it so that it was specific to, you know, our center. However, it helped our agency and our dispatchers to understand this process a little bit better, because they're getting their CPT credit, and it also kind of made the training, you know, put it at frontline and center, made it more standardized for them. All right, so one of the things that my bureau handles is management studies. So these are some of the topics that somebody can ask for. So they do evidence and property, staffing, communication and dispatch functions, records functions, general studies that kind of like oversees the whole agency. But this process is kind of has to be administered by your executive and whoever, like it's usually like the chief of police. They put in basically an application saying, and they kind of talk about like the scope of what they're looking for, what they'd like to be done with their agency. A law enforcement consultant will then contact them, tell them, hey, hello, you've been selected, or you've been like put on the wait list. Now there's a continuous application period. It used to close and cut off, and you would have to like reapply, but they've made it so that now it's continuous, and that you can get onto like a wait list, and the selections are in June. So depending on like our bureau's pretty staffed, so they try to make sure that they kind of accept a good amount, a good chunk of people who have applied, and then let them know like if you're going to be on the next cycle, basically the next fiscal year, because elections are in June. So this we're about halfway through for this year's, and going to be moving into some more, working on more as 2026 begins. But basically, the process is, it can be lengthy. It's a couple months. Like you go to the agency or the center, if it's a dispatch center, or just the agency, the PD overall, and kind of just take a look at what they got going on. And this is free. This is free to all of the post-participating agencies. So depending on what the scope is, if it's evidence and property, somebody will come in, they'll look at all of the processes for evidence and property, and they'll do some interviews and talk to people and hang out there a couple days, and then come back, write up this long report, and give it back. And say, hey, here's what we found, here's our recommendations. And they're all recommendations. You can take them or you can leave them, but some of them like it for like city council purposes, for staffing, for just different things. So that's just something to think about.
Yeah, I think having paperwork from Post that says these are our recommendations for staffing levels, and then presenting that to the people in financial decision-making powers can be a nice weight to have, to say here's an outside entity and this is what they're recommending, and it's free. So something specifically for operational personnel is the Sherman Block Leadership Institute, or it's Supervisory Leadership Institute. Has anyone gone to SBSLI? Did anyone know SBSLI is open to dispatch supervisors? No, perfect. Some people, got a couple hands. So this is, it's for California law enforcement frontline supervisors. So this is professional staff and uniform staff, so dispatch supervisors. It's 8 24-hour sessions over the course of 8 months. So basically once a month you go and you meet at an off-site location and receive training. Interested applicants can apply through EDI. You can earn college credits. And it is great not only for networking, but for developing yourself as a supervisor. It's a chance to develop professionally, to get out of the dispatch center, to meet with others. You get to go to the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles and learn a specific presentation that they have for law enforcement. And the folks in charge of it at Post are constantly asking for dispatchers. They come to us and they're like, have more dispatchers apply. And I'm like, cool, I'll get right on that. If you have the opportunity to apply and attend, I cannot recommend it more. If you have any questions, you can ask us, but you can apply online. Command College is kind of the next step after SBSLI. So this is for management level. Just like SBSLI, there are requirements for training you need to have completed, as well as how long you've been in that position. So it's both a 2-year ask. So if you're attending as a supervisor, they want you to say, hey, for SBSLI, you need to have been a supervisor for 2 years. Command College at the managerial level, it's you need to have been in this position for at least 2 years. It's university backed, so once again, you can earn some college credits. The nice thing about Command College, it's 18 months long, so she's a doozy, but they teach you throughout the course to implement basically your change project. They help you develop, this is the project I want to do to change something in my agency, in my community, specific to law enforcement, and then they teach you how to write academic papers and get published. And it's through Post. So if you have more questions, please apply, because once again, they're always asking for not uniform people. All right, current and upcoming projects. So this is kind of the stuff we're working on right now and how you in the dispatch operations field have already helped us, and then we're gonna ask for more help in a little bit.
Okay, so we just recently, about 2 weeks ago, held a communications training officer guidelines workshop. So I solicited first me's based on the information that I had at the time. So if you didn't get that solicitation, then sign up, because I would love to have you in the next workshop. So it's passed, right? And it was to modernize the CTO practices. So I'm not sure if any of you have gone on the Post website and go on to the tab that says publications and scroll down, and there's a bunch of documents on there that just kind of various topics, canine, human trafficking, AI, and CTO was one of them. CTO has, who knows the last time the CTO the guidelines have been updated? Anyone, just, what do you think? 2012, thank you very much for that. information because does that sound current? No, not at all. There's so many things that have changed within the dispatch community, within the dispatch world, within training, that it was just completely outdated. And so I thought that would be my big first project that I took on to be able to change that and not me, but help to facilitate, right, for the SME group to change that and make it more up to date and current and relevant to today's training. So that's what we did. We had some people get together who have some training experience, and they spent 3 days just, nope, we don't like this, add this, put this together, put this here, move this sounds better, and updating that. So we hope to get that publication out within sometime in 2026. It does have to go through another process because we talked about that commission, that board of members that like to govern posts. Well, they like to see those, so we have to present it, and they only have 4 meetings a year. So I have to go and make sure that they see it before I'm allowed to publish it and allow it to be viewable by all of you. But it'll be upcoming as soon as I'm able to do that.
All right, so the next project we have is the modular format workshop. This is specific for the Public Safety Dispatchers basic course. So as I said, the course is now 160 hours, which is 4 weeks long. That can be a big ask for folks to be away from families for 4 weeks. That's a long time. The Peace Officers Basic Academy is like 6 months long, but they offer it in a modular format, which means I can take part 3, come back a little bit later, take part 2, come back a little bit later, and take part 1. So we are going to develop that for the dispatchers basic course. So I've already selected those SMEs. If you weren't selected, I apologize. Please sign up to be a SME online, and I might pick you next time. Probably. I like new people. But so this is to get consistent course delivery across all the presenters in a modular format. So hopefully this will provide flexibility for both attendees of the course as well as flexibility from a presenter standpoint. And if you've thought to yourself, this is the only thing that's ever holded my agency back from being a presenter is we can't get a classroom for 4 weeks, come talk to me. We're always looking for filling that unmet need for presenters. So if you are in a region where there are not presenters, come talk to me later and we can talk about how to help you establish being a public safety dispatcher's basic course presenter for your region. So our first workshop is in January 2026. I'm hoping to present at commission. Like Jamila said, they only meet 4 times a year. This is going to involve some regulatory changes, which makes the process even longer. So I'm hoping to go to commission about midway through 2026 and then in 2027 have these out. So when I started at Post, I was thinking like, guys, 2-3 years, we're gonna have this dispatch thing nice and updated and wrapped up. And then I forgot how state government works. So we're on like a 7 to 17 year plan right now before everything is on a nice like cycle where we're addressing things in a timely fashion. But we are working on it, it's just gonna take time. So one of the other things we're really excited about is the reestablishment of the Public Safety Dispatch Advisory Council. Does anyone remember when this was a thing before, like in the pre-COVID times? No? It was a thing before in the pre-COVID times. So this advisory council is going to be here to share expertise and statewide guidance. So it's representatives from both a managerial, supervisory, frontline, as well as like NAPCO, CalNINA, all of these associations are also going to be recommended and coming together to give Post a little guidance, some recommendations. You guys know that there's a lot operationally that Post can do to help dispatch. And right now it feels like we're kind of drinking out of a fire hose because there's so much that needs to get done. So we're hoping this advisory council can provide us some direction, but also help communicate between Post and the field. So what is really exciting is we received over 100 applications when we opened up the application period. What is really overwhelming is we received 100 applications that we all have to go through now. It's okay though, our first meeting isn't until March of 2026, so we have time to go through those applications. Those folks that are selected will only serve 3-year terms, so if this is something you're interested in participating in, sign up for Post bulletins because we'll be posting again in about 2 years to get more members. And then last but not least, because I like to be busy, the Public Safety Dispatchers basic course does not have student workbooks. So for anyone that has ever attended the basic course, anything that you received was created by those presenters, and that's a big lift. So the peace officers basic course, they have beautiful workbooks, they get updated all the time, and I want the same for the dispatchers. So we're gonna get some SMEs together again, develop these workbooks after seeing if there's anything we can steal from the existing workbooks from the peace officer side. And then applications are gonna go out in 2026. So for this one, I need a big group of folks because there's 19 learning domains. So that means we have to create 19 workbooks. So ideally, the first couple of meetings would be virtual, kind of like project planning. And then my hope is to get a big group of folks and once a month have folks come to post and work on workbooks. But I don't want to overwhelm anyone and have you come to West Sacramento once a month for the foreseeable future. So I'd like a big group. We're going to answer any questions you guys have, but I wanted to put up our QR codes. That's our email. We have a post dispatch email address. It's literally just dispatch@post.ca.gov. So even if your question isn't something like that we handle or that we can answer, please email us and we'll find you the person. I've learned so much about how Post works by just walking around and being like, who's in charge of this records course? This doesn't really have anything to do with what I'm in charge of, but let me find the person. So if you ever have a question, please reach out and we'll help you find the answer or the person who can give the answer. Perfect. Does anyone have any Post questions, any dispatch questions? I'm gonna be mic runner because I'm in flats.
Question about the certificate program, actually. For the supervisor certificate, a requirement on it is that you've been employed with your current department for at least a year. And I was curious why that's in place. Like, you have to have already been a dispatcher for 2 years to qualify for it. So why with the one employer?
Is it for the supervisory one? You want to pull up the reg real quick? That's not our wheelhouse. I don't have the reg memorized. I apologize. We'll pull it up real quick. So I know for that one, it's I thought it was 2 years in the position, but Jamil will pull it up, so stand by to stand by. Anyone else? Okay, hang on. I'm coming. I wore flats for this reason.
I think there's been some conversation about it, but extending the amount of time to have to send a dispatcher through the academy. What are you guys? I know you guys are exploring it. Do you know if that's coming soon?
So with any change to the time requirements for the public safety dispatchers basic course, that isn't something immediately on our agenda to discuss at Post. I have definitely heard feedback from the field about changing it. That's something that is already like on my list to bring up to the advisory council in March. I think the biggest comment I hear two things. So I hear some stuff about, hey, we lose a body when we send someone away for 4 weeks. Like, right, I have this person, we've waited to send them, or I didn't have classes to send them, and now we've lost somebody. On the other hand, I hear that there aren't any classes that like work in the time thing. So kind of my thought about the easiest, quickest fix about like, I don't have a class available when I hire this new person to send them is to get more classes. Like that's gonna be the fastest, right? It's gonna take me 2 years to say, hey, we took the basic course and we split it into 3 parts. If you have a presenter in your area already, like, hey, I'm normally sending my people to XYZ, easiest path is to get in touch with them or get in touch with me and I can help facilitate a chat. Can we add more presentations? That's a very easy, you have the room for it. Something I hear about adding more presentations is I don't have anyone to teach, right? Like, I'm an agency putting on the class, I can't give up my people to teach the class. I think that is an opportunity to once again get together as a region and say, like, we're all sending our people to this presenter. All these agencies, let's give up 1 or 2 people to help teach the class on a rotation basis. So kind of that's an immediate fix. As far as the timeline, the other thing I've heard is we have to request, like from a city agency standpoint, from our HR folks, that I need to prolong someone's probation, right? I have to send them to training at the 11th month or the 10th month, and now I need to prolong their 12-month probation in order to send them to the course. That kind of fix I suggested for folks is maybe internally try and increase your probationary period to 18 months. I know that was kind of a discussion a few years ago for some agencies about looking at the 12 and making it 18. That is a quicker fix probably on an individual agency level than a statewide level, because then you have 12 months to send your person to the course, and then you've got months after that to get them released and an independent working dispatcher. Yeah, which some people have done, the 18-month one. I can't give you a timeline about when we're gonna address it. The new course has been out for less than a year, so I can't perceive us going in regulation and changing anything with the timeline, probably for a couple more years. Once again, kind of pending on what we're hearing from the advisory council. Unhelpful and unspecific, I know. Hang on, I'm coming. All right, no, girl, I got you. No, but I would have gone back up there anyway.
Is there a plan to do, I know there's command college, but is there like a management level certificate you guys are looking at doing that would target dispatch managers specifically, maybe a week long, that's not command college?
Tag.
This has been in discussion. You talk about the course, right? For dispatch managers, and then are you, just a question for you because we have discussed this quite a bit. Are you looking like, I'm a new dispatch manager and I would like to take a course to learn like this job, or I've been a dispatch manager and like what?
Looking, yeah, like new. So addressing, I think there's one presenter that does like she touches a little bit on management stuff. So like budgeting and high level personnel, union bargaining, stuff like that. Like that kind of really either for those looking to promote into management or directors or those newly in the role.
Yeah. So that is another topic of discussion for us, and also like something that we really want to kind of run by the advisory council, because I also want to know if it's in demand, just because I'm understanding also that those positions are not high in turnover as others. But I know that there is an interest. We have gotten questions, and we are kind of looking into how we can make and facilitate that, and have some curriculum in the background to be able to have more presenters and things of that nature so that we can present something like that. I know it's an interest. And so yes, it's on our list, our very long, sorry, I hope it's not 17 years, but our very long list of things to do and things that we want to implement and have available. It's just kind of some of the logistics as well of getting it presented, basically on a more regular, like, is it going to be offered 2 times a year? Kind of just one of those things that we're kind of looking at how it's needed so we can make it good, I guess.
And there's a management course. It's called like management, and then it's a 3-module thing. It's like ABC that's available for lieutenants, which we've all taken training, right, that was made for uniformed staff, and then they're like, take your people out for coffee if you need to have a private discussion. You're like, sweet, I'll just leave the radio alone and take my employee out for a supervisory chat. So we realize that not all of those courses that are in existence are really applicable. If you are needing something like now, that's kind of better than nothing. But like Jamila said, we really need guidance from the field about what to do first. There's only 2 of us right now working on dispatch stuff, and every big project we work on is about a year long. And we don't want to prioritize something that like we feel is important when the field is like begging for something else. But we hear you, it's on a list.
It is. Thank you.
Did you find the
So,
reg?
yes, so the regulation 1011, it only says that you should possess a minimum of 2 years of experience as a permanent first level dispatch supervisor or higher. Nothing about at your current agency.
You have to be currently
Currently
employed as a supervisor.
And then possess a minimum of 2 years experience. But there's no language in the regulation that specifies that it has to be at your current agency.
So we can talk online if you want, and I mean, you don't got to name names on the YouTube, but we can chat later and figure out what wires got crossed and help you figure out how to apply and get approved for your certificate. All right, I haven't run over to this side of the room, and I know they're unwrapping food. Oh, you're raising a lapel mic, so I wore flats today, guys. I'm here to run.
Okay, any more questions? Anything else?
We got to wait a couple minutes. The food is getting set up for lunch for everybody, so.
Yeah.
For the SBSLI program, the current application period is open. Do you guys know where the class is going to be held?
So they offer multiple locations, and the thing with SBSLI is they want you to choose a location, and I think it's almost a force of at least 50 miles away from your home. So they have all of the workshops, the 3-day workshops, at a hotel or at another location because they do want you fully immersed in the SBSLI cadre. So it is travel, and they do that 50 miles because it's a state agency, and you can't drive more than 50 miles without staying in a hotel. But yeah, so they usually, how they do it is once people are selected, they'll go down the list of like, here's the workshops we have scheduled, you're next. Which one, you're going to this one, you're going to this one, you're going to this one. And I would have to double check, but I believe there is some, like, if you say I can't go to that one, I think you either drop down the list or they give you like one more chance kind of situation, but I'd have to double check on the specifics of how they put folks in classes. All right, who has one? Burning question for post. We're here. You've all been waiting. No?
Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I know we've said it before, so Jamila and I are just here to facilitate things. So we really appreciate your input and your feedback and letting us come and chat with you. Please reach out if you have any questions. That's what we're here for. We love racing to see who's going to answer the dispatch email first. So thank you guys very much.
All right, thanks again very much, Jamila and Michelle. With that, lunch is being set up. We'll probably be ready in a few minutes. And then after everyone's settled, we'll do some door prizes. And then at 1 o'clock, we'll break off into frequency coordination in this part of the room, operations roundtable over here. Those will start at 1 o'clock. We'll jump back up here probably in a half an hour for door prizes. Thanks again, everyone, for being part of the chapter meeting today. Hopefully you had some takeaways.